It was early June 2002, and I can remember it being at least 115 degrees in the shade that day. It was so hot that even my shins were sweating, and a massive dust storm had just passed through, creating a layer of sand and dust on everything, and that grit gets everywhere. But it was all okay because our team was finally done. It had been 7 long months of combat, now wrapping up in just 48 hours, 48 short hours. So many close calls, so many lessons learned in blood and sweat. And unfortunately, so many fellow soldiers not coming home in the next 48 hours, the next 48 days, or ever. But right then, we were not thinking about the lives lost, the fact that the world would never be the same, and the reality that we would be back to fight again and roll the dice of chance soon enough. What we were thinking about was our loved ones, who we'd soon be seeing, holding, and kissing once again in the next 48 hours. All of our personal belongings were already shipped back to our homes. We were literally sitting on our bunks with just our fighting order and the visions of our kids, our wives, our parents, our pools, fresh food, air conditioning, all those thoughts were going through our minds. But then, only as the military can do at times like this, they threw us a curveball. The last thing we ever thought would land in our laps at this late hour. A TST, and that's military jargon for a time-sensitive target. We were to launch on a high-value target, and it was to be, that individual was to be in location in the next 40 hours. Do you see the potential conflict of interest here? Our Freedom Bird was to pick us up at 0800, and the timing of the strike was to be 0100. This didn't leave us a lot of time, and it wasn't going to be an in-and-out mission. This HVT was said to be protected by over 50 battle-hardened terrorists ready to fight to the death to protect their leader. Up until now, we had conducted literally dozens of missions and countless close calls, and our team was, to this point, scratch-free. And now, to be tasked to go into the Hornet's Den literally hours before we were to board a flight and be reunited with our loved ones? Even though we were a Special Forces unit, we did have doubts and fears, just like any other soldier in the same situation. Mentally, and in this case almost physically, we were on our way home. We were on our way to our loved ones. We had done our time. We were on our way out, and now it was somebody else's turn. That was the feeling of some of our team. Some were very vocal about this situation, and others were certainly thinking it, that this is really bad timing. This is bad mojo, bad juju, whatever you want to call it. However, there were leaders who were laser focused on attacking this mission with the same vigor as any other mission we had taken on during these last 7 months, this 7-month deployment. Leaders that truly were able to galvanize the whole team to rally around this one last mission. Because if it was not all into this 100%, the team could fall apart on the X, and that could absolutely spell disaster. What was in their makeup, their leadership skills, their personality traits that could rally us to march into this tough situation and with smiles on our faces ready to accept whatever might come and whatever might be? These men had traits that I needed to model to help me with the development of my personal journey. As leaders in business and in life, wouldn't you like to know what character traits allows great military leaders to lead men and women into battle with smiles on their faces and with the determination and the will to survive, but the realization that they just might not? Wouldn't you like to know how these same traits translate into success as an entrepreneur, a business leader, or better yet, just as a beautiful human being? Wouldn't you like to know only 4 simple traits? Not 12, not 9, but let's keep it simple with just 4. Just like my favorite infomercial, we don't need the 6-minute abs anymore because now we have the 5-minute abs. And that's because we lead busy lives. We're surrounded by infobesity. So much so, we need to boil it down to the core, the basics, so that we can incorporate them easily into our lives and not just our business practice. I don't know if this is only a military term, but we like to use the following acronym: KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Because when the fog of war hits and when the bullets start to fly, nobody is going to remember a complex plan. They're going to remember their core tasks. Now, after 20 years of service to my country and being deployed close to 12 of those years, I've decided that I would not define myself as a soldier for the rest of my life, but that I would take the leadership lessons learned and apply them vigorously to building a legacy much bigger than just my military exploits. Now that's all great rhetoric, but how was I to do this? In the beginning of my journey, I was overwhelmed, as my life was defined as a soldier up to this point, and that's all I knew. Well, so I thought. I needed to break through my mental dogma, so I thought back to those last 48 hours so many years ago in Afghanistan, and I reflected. I realized I am a leader now. I have modeled those core traits seen so many years ago, as well as I have learned so many other lessons in blood and sweat since then. But how would I lead in the business world? My decision was crystal clear. After I reflected, I realized that I would lead as I had seen 12 years ago, and how I have modeled my life to date, with integrity, with self-confidence, with openness, and finally with discipline. That's what I call my core four. So let's have a closer look at some of the concrete examples of how this core four have positioned me to have a very successful 20-year military career, to have partnered in opening a multi-million-dollar business in the traditional economy, and having success in the new economy, positioned to lead a $1 million team, and more than any of those accolades, a wonderful full life of friends, family who I care deeply for, and so many amazing adventures. Integrity. There's nothing that will get you shot faster in the back than the lack of integrity. And I'm not talking about the enemy here. When you say you have someone's back, you better. And when you screw up, you better admit it, because you will be found out. And in the business world, I found there is nothing that will build trust faster than integrity. It is such a rare commodity that when you are true to your word, when you're trustful and you hold yourself to a high set of moral values, you will stand out. And it is such a beautiful trait as you can practice it in life. It is not just reserved for the boardroom or the battlefield. Then we have self-confidence. Now I would like to quote the famous historic figure you might recognize. I am what I am, and that's all that I am. And if you don't recognize that figure, who I'm quoting is Popeye the Sailor Man. And he had it right all those years ago. Through chance, life, genetics, environments, naturing, we are who we are. Now, I'm certainly not advocating that we can't all grow for the better and develop, but before we do, we need to look in the mirror and say, I am good enough. I am in the right place at the right time, all the time. Imagine a platoon leader saying to his men, okay, men, I think you guys are ready for this mission. I think you're ready to do this mission, but me? I'm not confident enough in myself to lead, so you're just going to have to go on your own. Have a good one. No, of course not. And the same thing goes for the boardroom. I find in both these situations I must trust in myself, that I have what it takes to be a leader, and if I fail, I will fail forward and learn and come back stronger. But we must not cross the line of arrogance. A great leader expects to succeed, but will do the work to be ready physically and mentally for the task at hand. An arrogant leader will just assume they will succeed without learning the necessary skills, and if he fails, will blame others. A self-confident leader will be okay with accepting the blame for failure. We are not all born with self-confidence oozing from our pores. We need to build it with small victories, one after another. And to have those victories, we must go out there and try new things. So openness. We must be open to new thoughts, open to new experiences, open to new ideas and new cultures. And in the military, openness is actually indoctrinated into us, specifically in planning. Let me give you an example. When given a mission, it is usually given to a group, but one man is, usually or ultimately responsible for that plan. Now, a poor leader would plan in isolation and think that he knows it all due to his seniority, his experiences, his rank, but the reality is he absolutely cannot know it all. The problems are just too complex. A good leader will call his team together and break them into smaller groups and come up with multiple solutions where they have feedback and their points of view can come up, and the plan is open to all their experiences, all their skills, and all their knowledge. And that is exactly how a group of 9 military peers of mine and I were able to build a multi-million-dollar business, incorporating products from New Zealand and Bulgaria, and have it up and running with a revenue of $1.3 million in our first year. Now, none of us were businessmen per se, but we were 10 powerful minds open to each other and all of our experiences combined. Now, finally, discipline. Now, without this trait, I think the rest all fall apart. I certainly find in my life, when I feel my health and my fitness is not where it should be, when my finances are not in order, and when I start blaming the world for all my woes, because I'm human, I do it as well, it's time to bring out the drill sergeant in me and bring back the discipline that has helped me out in countless life and death situations, from financial struggles and from personal despair. On countless missions, it was my discipline to keep my body fit, hydrated, and limber, to review mission profiles dozens of times, to take rehearsals into my hands and rehearse my portion of the plan and everyone else's, just in case that made the difference. All while being far away from home, eating poorly, in excruciating heat and deplorable living standards, I had all the reasons not to have discipline. But truly, those are all the reasons why discipline was so important. So I thought, once I retired, I could finally take a discipline break. Well, to be honest with you, that's the last thing I needed. I think back to establishing my first business. I would work my 8-hour day in the military, and then I'd drive to my business, and I'd work there until after midnight most nights. I was living off a 5-hour sleep for the better part of 2 years, getting that business established. It was discipline that got me up every morning because I made a commitment to myself and to others that we would succeed and that I would not fail due to lack of discipline. I find the best way to get myself back into a disciplined life, though, is to begin with small promises to myself. I'm certainly not an advocate of making a list of all the things in life you want to change, like fitness, finances, personal development, etc., etc. If you can't even get out of bed without hitting the snooze alarm 5 times, build your discipline like your self-confidence, one small victory at a time. Build it up. Don't set yourself up for failure. Now, these are my core 4. These are the traits that I have witnessed in many military leaders, in business leaders, and all the great people of my life. I realize we cannot have a long list of business and personal characteristics to follow and to model. We often say in the military, any advanced skill is just a combination of the basic skills, your core skills. So master the core 4, master your core 4, and you're on your way to advanced leadership and a wonderful life of integrity, self-confidence, openness, and discipline. You may still be wondering where the bedroom fits into all of this. Well, one, of course, is that it rhymes. But more importantly, I would like to reiterate, my core 4 do not only apply to the battlefield or just the boardroom, but to life. To be a great leader, I believe, is to be a great person. And when you go to bed, and when I go to bed each night, and I have lived each day to its fullest, and I only have a few moments to review my day, I ensure my actions were with integrity and openness, and that I carried myself with self-confidence and discipline. Thank you very much. Pause.